Well, hello everybody. Again, welcome to Flatiron School. I know this is technically day 2, but part-time program, no pressure to feel like you should have already started. Like, yeah, you don't have to have done that. Just as a quick overview, today we're going to do like a program level overview, like an introduction to Flatiron School and each other. And then tomorrow, if you take a look at our calendar, is our first study group, but not to worry, we're not getting into course material until next week. Tomorrow, I'm just going to take some time to explain like, what Canvas is all about, some strategies for learning efficiently, and also how to use all of the different resources that we have. So not to worry about like getting into the material just yet, unless you want to. Feel free to get started if you feel comfortable. But yeah, just so you know, that's what we'll be touching on today and tomorrow. A quick agenda. These are the things that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about our student systems, a little bit of like housekeeping. We'll talk about our curriculum roadmap, what your next 10 months are going to look like. We're going to introduce your support team, which includes myself and Dara and a few others. We'll talk about your expectations, community, and then also everything we need to get started. Just to let you all know, I'm the kind of instructor that I like to be interrupted with questions. So at any point, if there's something that's not clear, just let me know. Feel free to unmute yourself and then just talk at me. All right, so just to get into student systems real quick, there are 2 student-facing systems for admin and curriculum. There's the Flatiron School Student Portal, which you might have seen. That's where your enrollment forms are. I think if you sign up for like the boot camp before you get like accepted into the program, you get some like pre-work on there. And then there's Canvas, which I think some of you might have seen like the pre-work on Canvas, and our phase 1 material, all of that, our homeroom, all in Canvas. So this is what our portal login looks like. The email address, I feel like if you're here, you already know where your email address is, your password. So I shouldn't need to talk too much about this, but any questions, if you ever have issues with getting into this, just let me know. And yeah, this is what your portal will look like. You have your catalog, and catalog basically outlines all of like the terms and conditions that you agreed to upon joining Flatiron School. And yeah, these are just forms and documents not relevant to course material. If you ever need to like change your password or do other account managing, this is where you would come. Next off, what we will be using most of the time is Canvas. So Canvas is our learning platform. It houses all of our curriculum and all of our lessons, labs, projects will be done on Canvas as well. So we'll get more acquainted with this over the rest of the week and with the weeks to come. Within Canvas, there are 2 main types of courses. That's really just terminology that Canvas uses. So the definition of course is a bit different than what you might be used to. So courses in Canvas are like the kinds of modules, I guess you could say. So there's a homeroom course where, if you've seen, that's where I put all the announcements, that's where the calendar is. If there are any important links to resources, I'll put that there as well. If there are any like holidays coming up, I will put them up on the homeroom. I'll also probably put an announcement in Slack just so you all see that. And then there will also be phase courses. There are 4 phases plus a project phase. We'll see that later. But each phase will be released the week before it starts. So as of right now, you can see that you have your phase 1 course up there. And then every 8 weeks, you're going to get access to the next course. And I'm actually in charge of releasing those courses out to you. So that is there. On the homeroom, I've also linked to the courses just for easy access. And this is what your homeroom looks like. As you can see, I edit this on a weekly basis, maybe even based on what announcements are coming up. So I will update this every few days with new announcements, with things like what are priorities for each topic. That's something I'm going to do as well. And also quick links. This quick links list is definitely going to grow over time. And also you'll see here our class calendar. So tomorrow I'll actually talk in more detail about navigating the calendar and what these different colors mean. But if you just want to browse the calendar, you'll see that our class events are the ones in green. I've also put like what week of the phase we're on for every week. And some of these other colored ones are just other Flatiron School events that you are free to attend. So just feel free to peruse. If there are any that I think are particularly important and interesting, I will let you all know as well. All right. And this is what a phase course looks like. Right now you have access to phase 1. Once you click into phase 1, this is what you should see. Of course, you don't have to start right now. We're really only going to start with the material next week, but feel free to start working through it if you'd like. And if you run into anything, you can always let me know. But this is all of our curriculum content. You can think of this as our like textbook / workbook. So each of these is a lesson that you can just read through and complete code if necessary. All right, so next we're going to talk about the roadmap, but any questions about like Canvas? Has anyone had any difficulty so far with Canvas? Cool, all right then. So next up is our roadmap. This is all the things that we're going to be learning. It's a lot right now. I would say don't worry about stuff in like phase 2, 3, 4. We're going to focus on phase 1 for the next 8 weeks. But yeah, just as a quick overview, each phase is 8 weeks long, culminating in a project. And the project is usually the last 2 weeks of the phase, with the exception of phase 5. Phase 5 is also 8 weeks long, but the entirety of those last 8 weeks will be working on a capstone project. So yeah, the content of each phase 1 is going to be like an intro to data with Python and SQL. In phase 2, we're starting to get a little bit more technical. We're going to do a little bit of stats because that's kind of like a prerequisite to data science. We're going to talk about hypothesis testing, which is also a subset of statistics, and then get to linear regression, which is already our first like data science model. Phase 3 is machine learning, a lot more modeling work there. And then in phase 4, there will be big data, deep learning, natural language processing. I like to think of phase 4 as like the electives phase, where you can sort of pick and choose what you want to start specializing in. And then of course, phase 5, we have a final project, which yeah, it's going to be very exciting. Every time a cohort is doing their final projects, there's usually like a little showcase. So I'll make sure to invite you all, or you should see it on the calendar whenever those are coming up, and I will let you all know when those are coming up. But yeah, you'll be able to see other students present their final project, which will be really cool to see. All right, so this is our timeline. I know it looks like a lot, but it's 10 months. Don't worry about taking down any of these dates. These are all reflected on our class calendar. I will also remind you all whenever we have like a day off or like a public holiday or something. But as you can see, the main things to look out for is we have cohort launch today. Aside from a few public holidays scattered throughout, there will be a 1-week break in between phases 2 and 3, as well as between phases 4 and 5. And so that would be our cohort break here, which actually lines up really nicely with Thanksgiving this year. And I think there's another break. There's a break in July, sorry. July, we have our first cohort break, second cohort break in for Thanksgiving, which just lines up perfectly with between phases 4 and 5, I believe. And then we actually have a week off for that Christmas week or the last week of the year. But yeah, all of these dates are reflected on the class calendar. And yeah, we have quite a few holidays scattered throughout, which is exciting. All right, so something that I just wanted to touch upon as like a good segue is what are we really learning at this program? Of course, yes, we're going to talk about a lot of technical things, a lot of, models, stats, skills, writing Python. But I think the most important thing that you can take away here is how to think like a data scientist. Why we focus more on thinking like a data scientist rather than, specific tools. It's because this field is ever growing, it's ever changing. Even right now, new things are being done in terms of like data science research, in the whole field of natural language processing right now, which is basically the study of like text data, which we'll talk about later in phase 4. There are a lot of advancements currently being made. If you've seen any of like the recent AI developments, that all kind of affects what we do as well. So because of that, it's more important that we develop this way of learning rather than focusing so much on like specific material. And of course, I will be there to guide you through all that. How to think like a data scientist, I would say the more important tools that you're going to need to know is reading error messages. I feel like if you all have been working through like the bootcamp pre-work, you would have seen a bunch of error messages by now, and we're going to get more and more used to working through those and deciphering those. Next, using Google and Stack Overflow. I will say that like probably the most important thing you can gain out of this is how to Google efficiently and use Stack Overflow efficiently. Stack Overflow, if you're not familiar, is sort of like it's sort of like a, I don't know, like a Yahoo Answers, but for code, and also but serious. But also you can always reach out to your cohort mates and me as well via Slack if you ever run into things. The next I'm going to show you all is this little mini comic, which I think really exemplifies what it's like to be a data scientist and like being in this really fast-paced learning environment. This first panel, you see, it doesn't work. Why? Of course, if something doesn't work, we want to find out why so that we can fix it. But what's less common, I think, and more specific to like the coding field is it works. Why does it work, right? So some of you might be wondering, like, why is this helpful? There's this term, productive failure. It's a learning technique that has been shown to increase like long-term learning, curiosity, engagement. And it's basically a really vexing process to keep trying and failing to solve a problem. But research suggests that while you're failing, you're actually learning more than you would if you succeeded initially. So basically like learning through iterative failures. This is probably what we're going to be doing a lot, just learning through iterative failures and also like tracing back why things work. I personally believe in like, not cheating, but you know, the solutions are out there. You're completely welcome to look up solutions off of, we have solutions for our labs. Stack Overflow sometimes has a lot of solutions that we can use, but it's more about understanding why those solutions work rather than like a copy paste, because anyone can copy paste, but really understanding why those are the solutions that ended up working and why yours maybe didn't work at the start. That's more of like what we're trying to learn here. But yeah, after all, Thomas Edison didn't fail. He succeeded at finding like, 10,000 ways of not to make a light bulb. I think that's the saying. So yeah. All right, so next let's introduce your support team, which is mainly gonna be me and Dara. So Dara and I are gonna be your support team. So me, I'm your cohort lead. And I'll be leading your study groups, leading your project sprints, and holding one-on-ones with each of you. Little bit about me, I live in New York, and actually I was exactly where you are, like 2.5 years ago. I was actually a student of Flatiron School's boot camp. I think they're like second ever class of data science students. I really fell in love with the material. I fell in love with teaching and talking about it. And I've been teaching here ever since. So yeah, that's about me. Dara, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Ish. So I'm Dara. Nice to meet you all. I am a community lead here at Flatiron School. I'm based in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm really here to help you all get off to a strong start at the beginning of the boot camp. So we'll really work together to get everybody connected and build a supportive community so that you can all help to support each other to reach the learning goals that you have together. I would say that Flatiron's philosophy is that we can all get further together than we can separately. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you all a little bit later today in our Meet Your Classmates, and I'll talk a little bit more about community in just a couple of minutes.
Awesome. I realize I've been talking really, really fast, so I'm gonna like convince myself to slow down a little bit. It's been a whole day of just like what meetings with students where I've been talking so fast. All right, so starting, I saw that some of you have actually already booked one-on-ones with me this week, but starting next week as well, you'll start doing one-on-ones every week with me. So one-on-ones are basically a 30-minute time slot every week. We can definitely do recurring time slots if you'd like. We can talk about it at whenever you schedule your first one-on-one. By the way, the link to schedule your one-on-one is already on the Homeroom. And what will one-on-ones look like? One, it's an opportunity for you to just ask me questions about anything that you're unsure of. I would say this is not always the case with most students, but the ones who more effectively use their one-on-one time have prepared like a list of questions, or at least have like tabs of whatever it is that they're working on open, just so like during the one-on-ones, you don't have to like scramble to like, all right, what was I was gonna ask again? So yeah, the one-on-ones are really for you to ask me questions. Once in a while, especially if it's gonna be like a big conceptual topic, I'll use the one-on-one time to ask you questions, making sure that you understand the material, that you're at a place that you need to be at any point of the bootcamp. So yeah. Finally, this is more towards the start and also the very end. getting used to paired programming. And I'm going to get you all to do some paired programming at some point as well. But just practicing working on code together with multiple people. And yeah, live coding is also a skill that you're going to have to prepare for interviews. So what I actually like to do towards the end of the bootcamp, which not very important right now, but I like to do like mock interviews. And yeah, pretty much mock interviews where I'll ask you questions and have you code out solutions on the spot. Not to like test you, but more to like prepare you for real interviews. All right, I think this next slide is all you, Dara.
Wonderful, thanks, Ish. All right, so as you all are getting started on this 10-month journey, one of the things I love to talk to new students about is this emotional journey of creating anything great, because this not only applies to what you all are doing here, but it applies to basically doing anything challenging and difficult at any point or place in your life. So most people start out over on the left-hand side at like, this is the best idea ever. I would imagine that that's where most of you are. And we kind of expect this nice, steady uphill journey that yellow arrow is showing us, right? From point A to point B, which is, this is one of the things I'm most proud of accomplishing. But the reality is that for most people, the journey actually looks a little bit more like the wavy, bumpy line that you see beneath it. There are twists and turns and bumps along the way, and that is a totally normal part of taking on a new challenge and doing great things. But I have some incredible news for all of you. This small but mighty cohort here, and I also, Ish, I'm very excited that we have an intimate group. This cohort is your bridge across the dark swamp. So you can see here, there's this sort of like looming dark swamp at the bottom, but also that there's a bridge that can get you across it. So you know, when things get tough, when things get frustrating, when you get to that place in the journey where you're realizing, oh my gosh, this is harder than I thought it was going to be, that's the time to post in the cohort Slack channel and let us know you need some support. Reach out to a fellow student one-on-one if that's kind of more, you know, more comfortable for you. Let Ish know in your one-on-ones with her. So you're all here to help and support one another, but nobody will know you need help unless you speak up and kind of like wave the white flag and let us know. So this program is challenging. We don't call it a boot camp for no reason. Everybody here is here to learn. So we have no expectation that you know everything, but we do expect that you will rely on and support each other. That's what this incredible group of people that you see on this screen are here for. So this is a place to ask questions, ask for help when you're feeling confused. More often than not, when it comes to questions, if you have a question about something, another student probably has that same question and will be so grateful when you pop it in the Slack channel or speak up in a study group and jump in and ask the question. So don't be afraid to ask. That is why we're here. It's a part of the learning process. So I just, as a community lead, one of the things that I really want you all to remember is that you are a part of this community now. And your community is here to help you succeed, right? Like success, you know, for students here at Flatiron is really about building good study habits so that you can get the most out of this boot camp, learning to show up professionally so that you're prepared to step into the professional world of data science, and building your community here, because this community that you build here is going to be the foundation from which, you know, you sort of spring into your career, and it's likely that you're going to make some lifelong connections here. So the really exciting thing about all of this is that you have the power to create the kind of community that you want. So I'm going to leave you with actually a few questions to think about as we head into these first few weeks and months of your experience here. The first one being, in 10 months, what do you want to take away from this experience? How do you want to show up as a member of this community? And what kind of community do you want to be a part of building here? It's up to you all. So I will leave you with that and pass the mic back to Ish.
Thanks, Dara. Yeah, I cannot emphasize more how important community is here. I've been here for over 2 years at this point, and the number of times I've seen like students support each other, help each other over the finish line, even help getting each other jobs. That's a huge thing too. Like cohort mates, I've seen a lot of this people from the same cohort end up working at the same company often. So yeah, really leverage this strong community that we have at Flatiron School. All right, well, next up, let's talk about expectations. So very briefly, we'll talk about our code of conduct. This is another table of contents slide. We'll talk about our graduation requirements, what our week in the life will look like, blogs, portfolio projects, and also the phase repeat policy that we have in place. So first off, this is our code of conduct, 5 bullet points over here. Basically, Flatiron believes that our community should be open for everyone. We are committed to providing a friendly, safe, welcoming environment for all, regardless of gender, sexual orientation, disability, ethnicity, religion, preferred operating system, programming language, or text editor. The idea of learning together as a community is really baked into the Flatiron philosophy, and we strive to be a place where we can achieve more together than we could ever achieve alone. So because of that, we do expect all faculty, teachers, employees, mentors, students, guests, friends, everyone involved with the school to help us create a safe and positive environment for everybody. So next, graduation requirements. There are just 2 main graduation requirements really. To graduate the program at the end of this 10 months, you will have to have published 4 blog posts, and I'll talk about blog posts in a little bit as well. And then also just pass all 5 project reviews in order. Once you have these 2 requirements, you're all graduated. Next, a week in the life. So every week, what our pace is going to look like, it's going to be about 2 topics per week. And topics are basically like the blocks of lessons that you see on campus. So 2 topics per week, usually we do about 1 topic per study group. As of right now, and this is definitely subject to change, our study groups are going to be Tuesday and Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. This is very subject to change. I'm also just getting to know your schedules. Thanks for you all who filled in the About Me survey so that I can get a better sense of that too. But yeah, definitely subject to change. If you see a big change in your schedule because we have a smaller group, do let me know and I can see if I can potentially shift some sessions around. I am thinking of possibly once in a while switching one of the week study groups into weekend study groups because I think more people can make it on weekends. But yeah, it's really up to us to discuss and decide. But typically this is what it looks like. By the end of the week, you're usually expected to finish about 2 topics of work. All right, well, next up we have blogs. Now, blogs I'll discuss more when it comes time for you to write one, but blogs are usually due with a project. Most of the time, students like to blog about their experience working on a project, which can be very, very good to, just verbalize what you were working on and explain your thought processes, what were the difficulties or the hurdles that you got over to finish the project. Those are really good blog topics oftentimes. But if you just come across something that's very interesting to you, it doesn't have to be super technical, just something that is related to data science, you can write a blog about it. There are some blogging requirements on Canvas as well. So feel free to take a look at those, but I wouldn't worry about that for now. We can focus more on our coursework. And then as we get closer to the projects, I'll resurface this blog requirement. All right, so portfolio projects and project reviews. So portfolio projects basically come at the end of each phase, with the exception of the capstone project, which is the entire phase. But the portfolio projects basically encompass all of the technical requirements of that phase. And for each phase is going to be a little different. Before every project, I'll do an entire study group, or about half to an entire study group, explaining all of the requirements, what a project should look like for each phase. So you will know your technical requirements. There are also rubrics for you to build your projects off of. And don't worry, for now, I will explain all of these things once we get closer to a project. These projects are going to be really good for building your portfolio. One thing that's especially unique about Flatiron School's projects, I think, is that every project is unique. Yes, we have very similar prompts, but you have the opportunity to make your projects as unique as possible, just so that you have, projects that haven't been done before. And then also due dates. Each project is going to last 2 weeks long. So it's usually weeks 7 and 8 of a phase. And then after that, you have 2 weeks after to pass a project review with me. I'll get into more detail, of course, when our first project rolls around. But a project review with me is just walking through all of your work, walking through what you did with your project. As part of that review, one of the study groups around when it's due will be a presentation day, where I'll have each of you present a PowerPoint slide of your projects. And that's actually part of the rubric as well. But yeah, we will get to that then. So with project reviews, I mentioned presentations. Doing these project reviews, I will give you feedback on the presentation that you gave. It's going to be a very, very important skill to learn, being able to verbalize to a non-technical audience what your project was about. So again, I'll talk through requirements about that when we get to our first project. Next, talking about your code, you're going to have to explain what you were doing to me and have me understand how you were working on your project and your thought processes and any conclusions or takeaways you have from your project. And of course, the project review time is for me to give you feedback on, one, how great you did, or things that you can do to improve. So this will happen 5 times, one at the end of each phase, and then also at the end of your capstone. All right. One next thing, we have the phase repeat policy. So what happens if you can't keep up with your cohort if you don't pass your project review? This is the policy that's actually part of the student catalog that you signed. Basically, at the end of each phase of a curriculum, you are required to pass the final assessment, which is the project review with me, to demonstrate mastery of the content covered in the phase and preparedness to move forward into the following phase. Basically, within those 2 weeks, I will just have to tell you that you passed the project. You get multiple tries within this 2 week to pass the project. So let's say you schedule your project review at the first of 2 weeks. And I recognize that, okay, maybe you need to work a little bit more on, I don't know, creating a couple more graphs that describe something that's happening. You have until the end of the 2 weeks to finish that, and then you can pass the project. However, if you fail to pass an evaluation within the 2 weeks, you will be required to repeat the phase in full by transferring to a new cohort. Of course, like, we understand that learning a completely new skill is difficult. So there isn't an additional charge to repeat one phase once. So if, let's say, there is a huge learning curve to picking up Python for the first time. So let's say you find a lot of difficulty with the phase 1 project at 7-8 weeks from now. If you're finding difficulty with that, you get to repeat phase 1 with the next cohort that's starting phase 1. And you get another shot at working at that project. And yeah, there's no additional charge for that. So yeah, terms of this repeat will vary based on which version of the catalog that you signed at enrollment. But yeah, you can view. Oh. Sorry, can y'all hear me? Okay, good.
Yeah, we can hear you.
My headphones cut out for a little bit, I think. But yeah, your terms of repeat will vary based on which version of the catalog that you sign at enrollment. If you ever are thinking about doing like a repeat, feel free to just talk to me because I can look up and see which version of the catalog you had signed because there have been different iterations. So yeah, if you're ever unsure of what you can do in terms of repeating a phase, just let me know and I can look it up for you. All right, next, talking about community. As we mentioned before, and as Dara mentioned before, community is super, super important. Our main source of community, or our main medium of community, I guess, is going to be on Slack. So with Slack, feel free to use it however you want. Of course, I'm going to post announcements. I'm going to post links, the Zoom links to all of our study groups in Slack, and also like any events that are coming up, so on and so forth. But feel free to ask questions in the Slack channel. In that channel, you'll see a couple people pop in. Other instructors are also in the Slack channel. So if you ever run into an issue or if you have a question on something that you're working on, feel free to just post it in Slack. There are a bunch of people in the channel that can help you out. You can help each other out. And yeah, I think that nothing bad can come out of, just discussing something regarding material, especially. Let's see. So yeah, so Slack is organized in channels. If you haven't used Slack before, I know it takes a little bit of getting used to. There are just so many panels of things. But basically, we have our class channel, which is where I sent messages and where Dara has sent messages today and yesterday. And we'll actually show, I'll show you all a bunch of other channels that you can join. There are a few affinity group channels that have been made. I think that's in the next slide. Also, your cohort has Slack channel. Every other cohort has their own Slack channel. If you're ever running into issues, and maybe if I'm not online, something that could be very useful is you can tag @DS Support Squad in any message, and that will actually ping our entire support team. All data science instructors will be pinged if you do an @DS Support Squad. So if you have a more time-sensitive question or if something that's kind of urgent, feel free to use that tag. And yeah, someone from our team will get back to you. And yeah, if you haven't already done so, just say hi on Slack. Feel free to send me a DM if you have something that you want to ask me as well. Oops. Why does it do that? Okay. All right, so yeah, as I just mentioned, Flatiron School has a bunch of student-led affinity group Slack channels to provide a space for people with shared experiences to connect. So these Slack channels are actually accessible to Flatiron School students across all programs. So not just data science students, but also software engineering students, our design students, our cybersecurity students. They're all in these channels. And also across all of our campuses and all online programs. So yeah, feel free to join any of these channels if they resonate with you and take advantage of our growing community. I'll post links to this directly in Slack as well. Next up, we have our data science team. So here you can see that's me, I'm Ish, based in New York. But other than me, there are 9 other data science instructors that if you tag DS Support Squad, these are all the people that you'll ping. These are all folks like me, fellow data science instructors. You might see them pop up once in a while in Slack channels. If I ever, for some reason, can't make it to a study group, one of them will always fill in. So yeah, if you ever see any of these faces around, this is who they are. All right, so we're almost at the end of orientation. As we get started, Dara is actually going to host a Meet Your Classmates session right after I jump off of this call. Don't forget to say hi in Slack, maybe use a GIF. Maybe compare whether you say GIF or GIF. I say GIF personally. Don't forget to schedule your first one-on-one with me. I think almost everyone has done so. Review the cohort calendar in Homeroom and save your dates if you're planning any like vacations or anything. I mean, now I know the travel is not really a thing, but yeah, the cohort calendar for important dates, if you just want to see, yeah, that's all there. Project due dates, I haven't put that on yet, but I will this week. And yeah, feel free to get started with your lessons and labs. We don't officially get into study groups until next week, but they're all there for you to start perusing if you'd like. Cool. Before we get into Meet Your Classmates, are there any questions you have for me? I'm actually going to hop off for this next part so that you all can spend time meeting each other. But yeah, any questions at this point? I know most of you we have one-on-one set up for this week or next week. So I'm happy to talk and excited to meet you all one-on-one then. Cool. Any questions before I hop off? All right, then. Well, it was such a pleasure seeing you all today. I will see you all very, very soon tomorrow at our first study group at the same time. And tomorrow we'll also discuss, potential different meeting times. Is that something that we want to talk about? But yeah, next up we have Meet Your Classmates, of which I'm going to hop up this call.
Before you hop off, Can you just make me the host or co-host
Oh
or
my
whatever
gosh,
it is, please?
yes. Okay, let me stop this share real quick. And I always forget to do that.
Oh, and can you stop the recording? Is there a way to do that? Because I don't think I can since you started it.
Got it. I think when this meeting is done, it will. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll stop the recording and then that'll be good.